maybe we'll have you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you come from, and we'll start down here with Vida.
Hello, my name is Vida Redbird, and I come from Lakota, Spring Creek, and we have 10 children, and which they all graduated 4th grade, and my baby is 20 and he's going to SGU right now. How'd you do?
My name is Sharon Red Bear Fubo, and my Lakota the Wambali and my dad is from Allen, South Dakota. So you know me talk the chapter, she travel chapter. Also so but that was Hechawati. My dad is Oglala, and my mother is from here, Naroke, but her name is Christine Crodog, and my father is Albert. Red Bear runs along the edge, and I live in Upper Cutmeat, in the community way out there, and I have 4 girls and 2 boys, and about 9 years ago I lost my youngest daughter, and she turned 23 when she passed away. And I'm a mother and I'm a grandmother. I have about 15 grandchildren, and then I'm gonna be a Unchila. My granddaughter's she's gonna be having a baby here, so I'm really happy that I'm gonna get to see my 4th generation. As my grandma Crodog, she's seen her 5th generation, so that means a lot. So I was really happy that I'm gonna be a great grandmother, and I'm really thankful to Justin and everybody for asking us to come here and talk about what they asked to talk about.
Miss I know the only voyoni home. Nacho, Lea Petuki Miss our pillar pre. I'm better on Luta town, Ella K, which only was regular how he knows something. Nacho, why I want Kati on El Kawita K. It's I number some coin. Not what was my Elkton ups later. You can't. Ana mungkoya pio kahet ke eton pina koskala ka obwahi o hio takapi no yecho ka opila nkhalea petu ki woite Lakota o hawoite na tauke ahani wichona la ha o ichi tokta nkha ahanecha ibulukta hekta okoji imaya rapicha ke toketu hekta ke wa wekse as for bringing us on this beautiful day, we call it Ampetuluda as we come to another day. We're grateful as Lakota people to come to another day and to survive another day. With all the different elements and different things that are going on in our lives, we get to come We come from, as I listened to Vida, she comes from Spring Creek, and my niece here, she comes from Upper Cutme, and I come from Hedog. And I thought that was pretty interesting that you look beyond, not to sound mean, but you look beyond Mission and Rosebud and St. Francis. And then you look to us and show respect to us by inviting us here. And I thought that was very interesting. I thought about this, and so Justin called me last week and asked me to come and talk about Lakota nutrition. And I too, my name is Sandra Blackcrow, as you've heard, and many of you know me. You know, here I've spent 17 and a half years here at Sandra University. I did all aspects of Lakota language, to introducing language in the home, language in large groups, proper etiquette, and also I did crafts to identify with different, in your home, what you do, to birthing, to the naming, to also to the Ishnati and the young men's ceremony, all the different foods that we prepare for that. As we became young women, young girls to young women, we were guided through ceremonies, and we were given guidance throughout our lives and how to live our lives as women. And there's a lot of respect that goes with it, and to show respect and establish kinship. Kinship is that you're related to one another, you're related to the environment. That's our culture, that's our whole belief system that we have. And I too am a grandmother. I'm a mother of 5, and I have four surviving children. I also know what it is as a mother to lose a child. And at this, I have 4 surviving children, and I'm at that age now where my daughter, she chauffeurs me around, and she's sitting here in the front here with me. I'm up in age now, you know, and I'm also a great grandmother. It's really exciting, just as my niece said. I have one grandson. He's a year old, and just to see him it's really exciting. It's humbling at times too when you get to spend time with your grandbaby. And he's a boy, and that really put a lot of responsibility into giving guidance to my granddaughter, and what to expect and what to do, and to respect herself. And that's overall what we look at. And so today, you know, I guess being into a mindset of 2 different perspectives. Being a Lakota is foremost what I have to live. My grandparents and my mothers, my aunts, who guided me, say that as long as you're speaking Lakota, there's a certain way that you have to conduct yourself. There's certain relationships, there's certain things that you do in your lifetime. And a lot of times, this is rather an experience, because I got to be an elder now, and I get to stand before a large group of people. And my mother used to say, you know, or don't be walking in front of your male relatives, or don't be standing in front of people and talking, you know, you're standing up there with no shame. Well, practically that's where I'm at now today. And then I get to, you know, share with, you know, my life experiences. It's experiences, and it's really interesting journey that I had, and I'm always, you know, willing to share at this point, you know. And so I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be here and share the rest of the afternoon with you. Thank you.
Again, I thank you all for coming, and I know that you guys grew up in a different time than what a lot of us today did, and there's a lot of knowledge that you carry from those times. And one of the things that really had an impact on Lakota people in the modern day was how we eat and the food that the people were given. Maybe you could share with us some of your knowledge of how the people would prepare their food, the things that they would eat, the knowledge and beliefs that Lakota people had surrounding the food. So we'll leave it up to you guys, whoever wants to speak first. And I know that being in front of everybody like this can be hard sometimes, but I know that you guys have done this before. And again, I thank you for being here. And just, I don't know if anybody prepared some things that they wanted to say, but maybe we'll start with Vida, and we could just go on down the line. Go ahead.
I'd like to start with what nutritional law is all about to begin with. I brought my grandchildren here to show you that it's not just food that's about nutritional law. It's about nurturing your soul. Alex and Handsome. In the morning, these two pray all the time. They pray every morning with the sage, and when my mom had a stroke last month, these two prayed for her and for me over the phone. It was really comforting. Did your mom bring it, or did she go get it? She went to. And so that's how I wanted to start this off with the prayer, with the little ones who are starting it off. We're gonna watch it. Just a minute. And his name is Reginald Ashes Jr. He's, how old are you now? Are you this one? Are you 5? You're 5? He said he's 5. And these kids here, they're homeschooled. This one is 11, and she never been to school before. We homeschool her. Me and my husband, we tag team her. So as of now, she bakes her own food. She bakes, her latest one is banana cake, banana bread, which she made all by herself. Okay, are they ready to pray now? Did you have their little?
Whenever there's somebody gives us a call, lets us know that there's somebody sick or needs prayers, the kids, I always have them say a quick prayer for not only themselves, their family members, but also for the people out there that need it. So I always just go like this here. So remember, you're not only praying for yourself, but you're praying for everybody that's out there that need it.
Wopila, thank you.
Then we just.
Thank you. Don't run too much. Don't run so much. Okay? Don't run so much. That's right there, standing there. Okay? Sit. Oha. Can you go see? Well, they're doing that. I like to take the talk about timsila, the braided timsila wild turnips that you dig out in the prairies. There's calcium in there, rich calcium, and there's another thing too. When you're pregnant, you don't eat that timsila because it could cause you to go into labor and have your baby. So pregnant women, they don't eat timsila. And then the benefit of it is it is rich in calcium, and I didn't know it. My son, he's 26 right now, and when he was a baby, we were in a car seat, and you know how babies don't like to be in car seats, and so he cried to be in the car seat, or he cried to get out of the car seat, and I didn't know how to comfort him, and we were going through Pier and has to be in a car seat. So I know, to get his attention, we had one timsila lesson. I shook it like that, and it rattled, and it got his attention, and he was all happy with it. And the next thing you know, he wanted it. So I gave it to him, and here he's teething on it. That's when he was about 7 months old. Then he had that timsila till he was 18 months old. And then all by then it was just a braid and only one barely hanging on there, and I didn't know it all that time. And he never had a toothache, and he never went to dentist, and he didn't like dentist, but he always brushed his teeth every now and then. And then when school started, he had to go to dentist. So we took him to dentist, and here they asked me where he get his care from. So I said he never went to the dentist before. I said this is his first time he's ever been here. And then he said, how is it that his teeth is so straight like that? I didn't know it then until I went to a seminar like this, and they're talking about timsila, and I said, I wonder if that's the problem. And so when we went through that, then I had my first grandson. We braided him with timsila, and we gave it to him, and he had it, and sure enough, same thing happened. He had straight teeth. He didn't need no braces or nothing like that. Now he's in college now, my grandson. So that's the benefits I wanted to talk about with the timsila. And also, we harvest fruits all through the seasonal, like the First comes the sandberries, the juneberries, then comes the raspberries, then comes the currants, then comes the chokecherries, then the plums, then the grapes. So we pick those, and we pick them, and we sell them to the elderly that we know that need them. And I keep some for myself, and I keep some. Then I put some aside for the ceremonies. So I have 3 different cartons, categories in my freezer for those foods. The chokecherries, we grind them, and we make patties, and then we grind them, and then we just freeze them. We freeze them, and the chokecherry juice we donate to the ceremonies, whoever has ceremonies, because we get a lot of juice, and we don't know what to do with the juice, so we give it to the ceremonies. If you have any questions. And one more thing I wanted to encourage of the wild fruits is I was a diabetic. Back in '93, I was a diabetic. And as of today, I'm not a diabetic anymore, and my A1C is a 5. So, and then the doctor said where the borderline is, I'm below that now. So once a year I go to the hospital for a checkup. And that was like about 5 years ago. And ever since then, I kind of really lived on these berries, wild berries, even in the winter time. in the wintertime, her and I, 1 week before Christmas, we take out our raspberries and we make syrup and jam and jelly, and then we put it on our pancakes, and we have it with everything, every food. So, if you have any questions? Not you.
Not you.
Andrew, Lieutenant, you know, I'm looking for radio. That's supposed to get the
It only walks.
Lakota o Tiwahe lena te wichon khilape. O na tiata wichon kula hape. O cha lehi huni pina wakanja ki iwicha chupina o obaya igna iya wicha ki le nuku o le wola khota ki le o ikshe energy ki wachi trakpapi. I santra wo pre akahape. Ona wikoshka laka, wina wichon hakilena, ho hokshi dokishke, iteshne owicha kichwakte, aktush chakula bitakne. O hechoncha, wichok awana de echane beo, wopla. Ogenechte hena kuche, aktush akile ekina kapina, ho chitakuya kina, de we ekta mahelmute. Ona wichoye kina lena o hena ea kina e chumpe hantuna sho unkichi ta kina unkana ta kina wichok unkaktu jo kina o lena o ke te he o he tukte ungunu o he chongulu ashaka ta ko ona wia o hokshita da o kanjo wichai ha lena o dira o chungi apte o hena echa Oya de kina 30 de kun. O he ikse chasha o he ha wa da kina isantra. O muchachti kile chashe chabla. O na he chamukte chukea o le lecha wa hi bunishna tuka. O wa de wa na wa na chabla. O na ta kun o isa o na e khseja. Wa na chabla. O es hetse kana hit que a nana ko eu chuktu koki. O wo pre e a ka rapena, we chachti ki le tegen kapi. ona mitake kidena iat khavla lo eatina hoena hokshita la kile iasta bia unki o jaheta ku kokia ka ina hole hokshita la kidena ea o wana o hokshita la lo je hot khaya hatene o je che da ku yo ki ea o he ha la awichas o krishna iwicha chukina o wichata Krishna will get and then we charge, we on each other. So, care I actually, Krishna in a voice of voice will get up in the Krishna, who got it. So, now the voice there, later you care. And now we get out. So, then on the get of you people. Katsu ki le ia bēras, na witi ko. Na ki hena un kātu ta koroni. O cha hena e cha ishe le woki ksirewa. He yohawa hinus. Ta ko o te un kātu sha. O cha hena ich itkonshnia. O hechina un kwātita. Lakota e unchatelo. I santaku ni troksha e unchatu koki. Oce ona tukte dita wae o emisha wak tu jawala ona wat hokcha kile ake choje o troga hea kiguni kile o waziske chakile o le troge a ikfaz o chokia he woida goyante ona le jan okshita la kile na isha woida o eman trankaita Kaya chachake o ean hena ishan hi. O na hena wana ka ke hantena sho ajut ka ki ena o nosuna. O iachi o hena pazo ahi. Na chaje o ya da ki ishan ayachi. Wo ila koyan ka chaje na ku. O he igrush ka hantena sho he wipasu ka ki ena. Wipasu ka ki yuna hena o challenge. O hena iu hakini o wichak biata ma o woitecha o ukui. O jata koumini hena woita wikia. O he ega haum kōtelo o kabala e haum koki. O cha hena un kikse atini. Hena echa na kuna wichu wichu na hoste. Aya wakama e kui o hirama ya
Be talking about nutrition. I call it like mother's nutrition. As I was growing up, you know, I see my own cheese, you know, just the way they were making their papa. You know, everything that I see them do, you know, my grandma on my dad's side. I'm really happy that, not Yomakpi, you know, that I could growing up see how, what she does. And then there, she makes wasna. She prepares the corn, the meat, and the fruits. And there's the timsila, the corn, and then the meat would be the like deer, elk. The fruit will be all the berries. And those are nutritious. Way before, you know, back in our grandma, back in the TB days, even before that, that's what they survived on. And they were very healthy. They the grandpas, you know, the men, they hunt, they go hunting, and the unchis, they prepare the buffalo and everything. And I always thought that was, I always tell my daughters and my granddaughters about that. And everything I do, I kind of teach them, tell them, because I tell them someday, you know, I'm not going to be here, and what I learned, I want to pass it on to them. And just like I was telling Justin, I don't be talking in front of, you know, in front of a lot of crowd and like that, because I could do that at home. You know, I talk to my sons and, you know, my daughters and like that. So this nutrition, all the water, the corn, and the meat, and the berries, and the water. You know, you can't live without. You can't live without water. None of us. You know, we have to have that water. And even the four-legged, and the ones that fly. You know, the eagle. And then my aunties always tell me, they talk about this. It's mind, body, and soul are Tauchina, Tauchana, or Nari. So when we partake those sacred food, we get a good blessing. And those times we don't be mixing sugar or salt or anything. Hecha, ahani hecha, tagani youth option like that. They don't be eating salt, sugar. Don't be eating shortening or things like that. Like nowadays, you know, spoiled by pop, chips, you know. I myself, I'm really happy. I'm not diabetic or anything, you know. I'm always thankful, you know, for that. And I know my kids know that I don't like taking pills, you know. And I try to really be strong and like that. But these sacred food, you know, we honor our kids. Like at home, our grandma, sometimes she makes the sacred food, and she puts them out for the spirits, for the loved ones that passed on. And she comes back and she sits us down, and she talks to us. She tells us stories about the stars. She tells us stories about long time ago. And I'm really thankful that, you know, she does that. And then as I was growing up, the wasna is used for everything. And when our loved ones die, my grandma, they prepare that. And my grandma, she never uses the blender or anything. She uses her rock, and she uses that. So I'm really thankful that I could see that. And now that you know, I'm really happy that I grew up that way, learning all those what my grandparents, my grandma learned. And there she learned how to, she taught me how to bead, make my own moccasins, you know, dresses. She tells me how our grandmas used to dress, you know, ahani. You know, how it's like my plume and my feather, you know, or I have it on this side. She tells me, you know, I should put it on this side. So I teach my granddaughter, you know, my granddaughters, you know, to pick, when to pick the choke cherries, when they're good, just like when the grapes are good, when the first frost, the buffalo berries, and timsila, the Indian tea, cheaka. So what I know, I want to pass it on, you know, to my kids and to anybody that wants to learn how, you know. And I was gonna bring my wasna too, and I've been helping my relatives like since last week. And all the young ones passed on, so I trying to be there for them. And Stalaha, you know, I went to my relatives and in the Pine Ridge Reservation. One of the Unjis passed away over there, so I made wasna for her to take it with her and to help my grandson. And then pretty soon it's going to be hunting season, so I teach my granddaughters, my grandsons how to wapata nako, you know, how to butcher a deer, how to butcher a buffalo, and what to take, what to make, all the things that are in those parts, because that's how our grandmas, they survived with those. But it's hard nowadays, you know, because we don't have that buffalo every day, you know. We don't have that, and the buffalo has no fat in it, you know, compared to the cow. The cow has atawashi ota, but the buffalo isn't like that. So that is really nutrition. So that's, you know, our grandpas and our grandmas lived a long time. You know, they weren't sick. You know, they were really healthy. And we honor our with the wasna, we honor our loved ones too. And name giving, you know, Ishna TV. Ahani, you know, those weren't ceremonies. Those were just the way that we lived that time. You know, our just like our grandmas, we don't be talking about that. My grandma, you know, we're supposed to, you know, keep that to ourselves. We don't be telling when that time comes for us that month, you know. But now, you know, it's out there and like that. And my mom, she delivers babies, and I seen her do that too down at the Paradise, and it was something really special. I seen her and how she delivers the baby and how everything went back to Mother Earth, you know, afterbirth. And my grandma Krodov, my grandpa, they were really traditional. My grandma Krodov, she uses her sinew. She never did use a needle to be making her moccasins, and I seen that. Grandpa, he tans it, he does all that hide, even makes the sinew for her. And I'm really happy that I could see that too. And in our home, I tell my kids that in our home, the Lakota language was the first language we speak every day. My auntie speak that to us. When I was going to school, I went to school with mostly, you know, the whites and the Mexicans. So when I went to school, I was I was asking my dad, I said, Dad, I said, my name is Red Bear, and he said, everybody has name like Hernandez, Lopez. He said, your name is really special. He said, Tohan inichake, you know, whenever you'll know. And here, you know, and I know my generations, whenever my great-granddaughter is going to be born, she's going to be the 7th generation, the time that 7 generations ago on my dad's side. So I tell that to my granddaughter, and there is something that too, Lanawa Kanjaki, my Unjis always tell us we weren't supposed to be taking our kids outside when it's dark. We have to keep them inside. Even if we do go someplace, I always tell my daughters, call their names, you know. Before we bring them in, we call their names. Now I see the young mothers pushing their kids in the dark, and a lot of things that are going on out there. And when she tells me, you know, all the things that go on out there, you know, there's spirits out there. And just like you know, Vida was saying, she's Wazi there, and that's what I do, you know. In the morning, I get up really early. Get up early, and, you know, just like the kids, they go to, they have to get their education now, you know. A long time ago, didn't have to do that, you know. But now, I guess we have to get that education. I didn't get my education, you know, I tell my kids that. I only went to 10th grade, you know, and that's what I'm surviving on. But I'm happy that that I'm asked to come here, just like my auntie was saying, you know, and Justin called me. I said, I kind of need you, you know, to stand right here and, you know, talk in front of everybody, you know, because I live way over there, and I try to keep to myself. And especially, you know, after I lost my daughter, it's really hard. It's really hard for me. But I survived that too. I learned, you know, when that happened, I didn't know what to do. You know, it was really hard. But I remember the Creator. I remember the Creator, and when all the relatives came around to help me, you know, and I know, you know, where my baby girl's at, you know. So, through that, you know, I want to be here, and what I know and what I learned, you know. And if there's any questions, and I have classes too, you know. They ask me to go around teaching how to make papa and you know, the sacred food, or how to take apart a deer, or, you know, I'm going to be doing that. You know, it's going to be hunting season, so. And my grandma told me that the best time to make papa is whenever, you know, about this time, you know, and all the things, and just like making quill work and everything. Like, this is a good time to get the porcupine too, telling me, you know. But just like Vida was saying, you know, she's homeschooling her kids, her takojas, you know. That's really good. No, yumagpi, you know. No. I have a little grandson, you know. He's really scared to go to school, you know. I said maybe somehow I could homeschool him too, you know. But that's where the teaching comes from. Our grandmas, our inas, that's where we learned from. You know, watching our grandmas and our moms, you know. Hechagva, you paint the Nataka.
I was thinking about the topic of Lakota the nutritional law over this past week, and you know, doing after learning how to do research and ask questions, and then reflecting back to my own life and my life today as a grandmother. And the things that we talk about, you know, of surviving today. And we're always trying to bring guidance to, and I've always thought about this quote, this certain quote that people talk about, the 7 generations. You know, and I always thought about that. And there's different things that I tried to introduce to thinking, and the word simply thinking Lakota. Lakota tawo ikcho, you know, Lakota tawo ableze. You know, these are guidance that we had gone through. And the guidance of the kinship was very, very important. And one of the observations that I made to my grandparents, and to me I always felt like I had a lot of grandparents, mother and father, you know, and a lot of aunts, a lot of enough, you know. And at one point I had a cousin who is of another tribe. She was a Arapaho Shoshone, and she asked me, she said, how are we related to this one? And I said, you know, I never thought of that. I didn't think beyond that. And she said, well, when we went to school, to the boarding school, she said, we learned that that you went to 3 generations and that was accepted. And she said, and so is that where that 7th generation comes in? So I said, you have a good point. So we started to, you know, look into that, the generation. And it brings, what kinship does is, it's learning how to respect yourself, to respecting your relatives, even to the animals, to your environment. That's how I look at that. And that's how you get conditioned that way. You get to learn how to think that way. And for a long time, you know, our people got into the different beliefs, and that was inflicted upon us. And we never responded. We were mostly listening, putting our head down, making no eye contact, just listening and sorting this out. We never really actually respond. And I was talking about our children, our grandchildren, you know, guiding them, and they see what we do every day in our lives. Just like they were, the girls here were sharing about their grandchildren. Every morning, you know, I don't know if that comes with age, but I'm up at like 4:30. It's automatically wake up. And then so I'm sneaking around in the house, and I have a grandson that's 3 years old, and he must listen because I do my hygiene stuff, and I come out and make my tea, and then he comes in and he says, "Ochich, ha, ochich, ha." And I noticed that he says that 3 times, "Ochich, ha." And so I look at him and I said, "Tchakoja, kikta, tchakoja kiktaye wana, tchakoja kiktaye." And now he knows how to say that, so he goes around and wakes up his other siblings, his brothers and sisters. Kikta, he knocks on their door and kikta, kikta po, you know. So you can introduce language to them. Kiktapli is to wake up. That's what that means, kiktap. So he was, he's doing that. He's the one that goes around and I said, don't holler, you're going to scare them. And we have a Lakota word for that, narihaha, meaning if you scare somebody, then they, narihaha. So I said, takoja, just knock or say, or whisper. And that was another thing that I noticed about Lakota speakers. We're really good whisperers. And one of the things that etiquette was, my mom, she used to say, don't be whispering. And one of the things that she really frowned upon was when you put your hand up and you're whispering to somebody. All this discipline came. So anyway, meaning don't be loud. These are things that we learned. And all these things we had to learn a different culture. We had to look at each other in the eye and be right close. And we forget about our spatial relations. We forget about our space. We forget about above us, to our right, to the left, in front of us, behind us. That's our space. That's our space. It's up to you to let people in and have that space. And show respect by avoidance. Respect by avoidance. Okay. So one of the things that I reflected back on this week was my grandson and I were sitting there drinking tea. We had green tea. I always have green tea because it just helps me get started. But one of the things that we do, that I was conditioned to do in the morning, was to drink and swish water. And that I learned from my mother and my grandmother. Swish your mouth, spit that out, get all that, and drink water and give thank you to that water. It's chikiaya, wopilaya, say thank you to that water. And I always thought about that. And then when I got to learn how to cook, I have funny stories to share, but I'm gonna hold back on that. But she always said, wash your hands really good, clean your nails, and have good thoughts. Say a prayer for the people that are going to eat, that they have good health and they don't get sick from eating your food, reacting to that. That was one of the discipline things that I learned. And in growing up in my parents' home, I was the oldest, so I'm always having to, at one time somebody said that was drudgery work. You had to always have something on the stove, a soup. And you always had to have tea. And you always had to have bread. Because you don't know who's going to come to your home. You don't know who's going to pull up and come to your home. And that was one of the things that I grew up knowing, that we had to share. And it was the duty of my brother, who was 5 years younger than me, to go out the door and greet whoever pulled up or whoever came. Greet them and then bring them in. And then we set them at the table. And my grandmother said, if you have nothing cooked at the moment, or whatever still cooking, give them water and bread. Maniyat ke kiape, na ako ape moji upe. You kiape. You know, that's what she always said. My grandmother's name was Amelia Hidog. Amelia Little Bollywood Hidog. And that was one of the things I learned from her. She was always pushing that. And then there was also setting a table. You dished out a soup, the bread, the tea, the water. You made sure they had water first though. You gave them water when they came and entered your home. Guess what? Today, that's the biggest change I noticed. Somebody comes to our home, we don't even answer the door or we barely peek out. I would choke us. Hey, you know? Gee, you know, that's one of the big differences today. And then I had the other paternal grandmother. My other grandmother, my dad's family, he had a large family. And yet in their home, it was a big log house. There was a big table, and a lot of people came every day. And my aunt, the oldest aunt, she was always cooking, making bread, making soup. It seemed like that's what we grew up on, was soup a lot. And every now and then a warjapi would come out. Whatever was in season, that's what we had. And there at the large table, us young girls had to set the table. And there was forever big dish pans of water where we washed, we rinsed, and then somebody was wiping, you know, we set that table again. But we fed our men folks first, there. With all the people that came and left, we fed our men folks first. Then the women came with the children. And sometimes we sat down with whatever children came, we helped them, we spoon-fed our children, the children, our relatives. That was always the difference that I saw today, you know. And I thought about that, and I thought, you know, we all got along that way. When you establish relationship, your kinship system, we were honorable. And today we're not that. Just like I say, we peek at each other. You know, I would check us, or you know, all these comments. And there, it was really interesting on my father's side of the family. My aunt, who was the cook, and I always liked to watch her. People were bringing her gifts. They bring her, because she's always cooking, they bring her a new kettle, a new saucepan, dish towel. Some were fancy, they were crocheted and, you know, all these fancy. So she had them hanging up. So if a relative came from a distance, we had relatives that would come from Eagle Butte. And it was really interesting because when they first come, my grandma and my aunties, they would all be hugging and they'd be crying. And I thought, geez, you know, you get worried. Well, we had a meal with them, they shared whatever they talked about, and we were so busy trying to help our siblings and all our small children, we don't know what was being said, you know. We didn't know what was going on, but my aunt, she would go along the wall and she would take those, leyu hagalaye, take this, she'll give a dish towel, a pot holder, and then, or maybe a quilt top or towel, because people were always bringing her gifts because she was the main cook, my aunt. And she was really a humble lady. And they enjoyed her meals. But she was the only one that ever shared a gift for you to take home with you to our relatives that came from a distance or someone they hadn't seen. So there was different types of etiquette that happened in our homes. And I thought about over this last week, I was thinking back, oh my goodness, you know, we don't do these things anymore. We don't even, let alone, you know, I'm with my grandkids and I don't have very many visitors. People don't come to my house. I live way out in the country, so nobody comes. And with season, as my relatives here shared, with seasons, the seasons that we observe, of course, we're into the fall, down to. So there's things that are taking place, things that were harvested. We harvested food in different areas. We went as families. I remembered this weekend, that there was three families in particular, and they were our relatives, and we came from Upper Cutmeat, Hedog area to Ghost Hawk Park. We camped, and I don't know how long, because I was too busy playing. No, eating berries. But at that time, my mother had baskets, and the baskets we have today are very different from that time too. These were like straw baskets. And they were lined. She had lining for them, and she sewed little linings for us, so we carried those. And while we were there, my dad and my uncles, they went along the creek, the little white coming down through Grass Mountain. We went through there, and they went out in wagons or horseback. And they came back with 2 different types of potatoes. And I went into Turtle Creek one day, and I was looking at the potatoes, and there was some little tiny red ones. They were red potatoes. And I thought, this is what they picked. And then they had another one, another type in a different basket. And they said, this one is for medicinal. This potato is a medicinal plant that we use. And then, same way with the timsila. They were talking about timsila, my relatives here. Same way, timsila. There was a timsila that she actually used to eat, save, slice them, string them. That's what my grandmother did. She sliced the timsila, and she took a darning needle and went through it. And she tied it, and she dried it. Then there was another timsila. They called it timsila sha, and they said that was medicinal. Hepejuta. So as I watched them, they processed and they dried them. And back then there was no such thing as plastic bags and boxes. So they made these bags, and that's what we took home. You know, and after that I really didn't think about it. We picked different types of teas. It was always a tea of some type that we had. And then not too long ago, it was I identified it, and one of my nieces in St. Francis called it crazy horse tea. And you probably heard of it. She always boils it and boils it for the sun dancers. And it's more a lead plant. But that was another tea that we had. And with that same plant, we took it. If somebody was injured or had a cut, they used it and they packed it, grind it, polished it, put it on, wrapped it up. And they say it works just like triple antibiotic. So these are things that in season they picked. Different types, just like relative over here talked about the wipazulka. You know, the berries, those berries, June berries, that was in that time. Also, a lot of these plants that were harvested was with the moon phases and the seasons. And while I was with SGU, one weekend we worked up to Thursday, so on that Friday Anyway, we have staff meeting on that midweek, and my cousin Sharon, he said, you know, right now, he said, they're bringing different people into that specialize in different topics. They brought him in because of this young man who went through the puberty ceremony, and he's going to do his first hunt. His first hunt. So he said, you're welcome to come because there's a feast on Saturday, he said. And this was like on a Wednesday. And he said, we're going to hunt tomorrow morning, and that was that Thursday morning. So we won't be in. So anyway, they left. Anyway, we did our whatever, and we came. I came. I made sure I came. I wanted to take part. So I came. And what he shared was his first elk. And he was out in Hidog area, because we have a lot of that over there. And he shared. He said, I thought I needed a tribal hunting license for in season, you know. And they told me, this is Lakota, that you're doing your first hunt, so this is what you're going to do. So he said, it was early morning, he said, we got out there. They did the prayers, and they talked to the Elk Nation and told them I was coming. And he said, I bow hunt. So he said, I took my bow and arrows, and he said, I got out there. And he said, okay, the wind's coming from the west, so you're safe. You'll get your, and there'll be one that volunteers. And he said, amazingly, he said, I didn't go very far. He said, there was one waiting. So I got my elk. He said, my first hunt. He said, all the uncles here and the grandpas here tell me that I can't eat it till I share. Maybe my second, so he said, I won't be able to eat it. He said, but we took the elk back, and he said, we hung it. And he said, then they put all this grass under it and put sage under it. And he said, and it bled out. We skinned it. He said, these other uncles took that hide and they put different chemicals on it. All the insides of that elk. And they nailed it to that barn, he said. And I thought, why are they doing that, you know? And so he said, we were there. He said, went through an EP and everything. We came out, and he said, there. Who's going to get, you know, we butchered after all the, you know, the letting of the blood, he said. Just all that happened. Now what? So he said, I have to learn how to cut it up. He said, and my mother came, and she had yard goods, and she cut up her fabric, and she wrapped that meat, and here we are. And she's ready to cook. So here, I'm sharing my first meal with you and all these relatives. And here's my gift to all of you. So we got to take elk home. Elk meat. I took mine home and made papa right away. It has a different smell too, you know. And this is another thing. When you're preparing and doing your butcher, the wild taste. When the animal eats green, eats grass, then it has a wild taste to it. Through the winter, as it's eating and it's digging for medicinal plants and whatever to eat, come spring, when you're hunting, that meat tastes very good. So there's different times to hunt these animals. And then somebody asked me, have you ever eaten prairie dog? And I said, yeah. Have you ever eaten turkey? Yeah, I did. And then, have you ever eaten beaver? And I said, I did. I said, after the fact, after they told me what I was eating, we ate the tail, is really what we did. It was toasted in open fire. I didn't even know it was beaver, you know. And then the buffalo hunt. I have an uncle that raised buffalo. So he did his kill on several different times, spring and summer and fall. And he shared that. My father raised cattle, and he did the same. He did his kill, and he shared meat. We'd bring different relatives over, and they'd be sitting there butchering, and they'd be cutting down that meat. And they'd all be talking, you know. That energy that went into, your energy that goes into your preparation is very important. Very important. And so throughout the year, there's different plants, there's different fruit, there's different animals to hunt. And just like my relatives here, they talked about porcupine. You know, now is time to harvest porcupine. You know, and I was asked questions about, you know, the utilizing the hair and the porcupine, and do you eat porcupine? All these questions come about when you're talking about all the different types of food that is being prepared and you get to eat, and what you use for medicine, what you use for pejuta. There's a lot of guidance stories that come with each animal, each plant, each fruit. There's a lot of stories that come with them. A lot of guidance stories that are shared. And one of the other things too is when someone, we used to, going back to our home, when that person that you're feeding, you say, oh, you acknowledge the relative, oh, lina, le yutaye, lina, le wahampi. You know, so they're eating. And then when they're done, they gather, they put the plate, the saucer, the bowl, the cup, and the spoons. Oh, tojan, acknowledging me by a relative term. They give them that all back to me. But they tell me that at one time, that everyone had their own bowls and their own spoon and their own cups. That meant a wooden bowl, and they had their horn cup and their horn spoons. Everybody, that was their personal, and you took that with you. And I had an aunt that came home one time. She always stayed with me. And she brings gifts for her cousins and her nieces, and she visited. And she came home and she had, she said, this time I learned, so she said, Lena, maswoganaka, she called it, that's what she called the cans. Lena iakach there, had it. So she said she had in her bag, she had certain bags, so she put all those. And they were just kind of clinky but she came back and she said, she had 4 different types of beans. She had 4 different types of bread. So that was her watecha, because she couldn't eat everything. She told them that she was going to take it as her unwea. Unwea is like a lunch, and today it took another term, and it's called watecha. That's something new. So we took our language and we gave it new descriptions, new meanings. But my aunt, my mother, she was the oldest sister of my mother, and that's what she called it, unwea. Unwea wa geluhakta kepchiksto, she said. She said, come look, see maybe which one you pick, you can eat it. She said, look at the bread. So she said, as I went, she said, they fed me. So she said, So so she had a container for her beans, and she had 4 different types of beans and 4 different types of bread. But you couldn't refuse if somebody offered to feed you. That was disrespectful if you refused food. At least you could take a bite, acknowledge it. You know, that's what I always say. Acknowledge it, take a bite. And today we have excuses. Oh, I already ate. You know, and this is the life that I remember, and I'm sharing with you about these things. My niece here, she works with children, relatives, makes wasna. She had 3 wasna here when they did honoring on behalf of the great-grandfather at Hidalgo Elementary. And it was really, really nice, really tasty, everything. And through one of the girls' ceremonies, they use pound wasna they use that, the timsila. Timsila wasna for the girls' ceremony. They use that. So, like, some of the things that we didn't talk about are now being taught about, because, like you know, we'd like to pass that on. And my daughter that was here with me, she was guided through that, so she knows how to, but that's her excuse. I'm tired, I don't feel well. I said, but that goes with the energy, you know. That goes with the energy that you have. And one of the things that, even though we have our male relatives here, that I want to put out as a question, and maybe you can research on your own, ask questions, is that one of the things that when we went through our puberty ceremonies, they ask you not to cook for your family. You're going to have a family, and Ishna Tihanta. Okay, later on, another one told me, you don't make bread. During the time the cleansing happens. And so there was always that topic. So when we're talking about nutritional law, is that, you know, is that something that we need to really bring back and discuss as a law? When you're, you know, as a woman, when you're cleansing, do you make bread or just bread? And you can cook the rest of your food? Or does that mean all of your food? Because those are the debate out there. That's the debate. And now I said, gee, if you didn't have to cook for 4 days, that's a vacation for you. That's vacation. You get to kick back. But they always say it's a powerful time for women when you're doing that. You can make things, you can bead, you can sew, reflect, make prayers, and it's a powerful time, they say, when you're cleansing. And you don't, one of the things is that when I was telling my granddaughter about this, I said, you don't go out in crowds, and from here on you don't walk in front of the male relatives. Really? She said, what about my brothers? I said, just think, you got a vacation time away from your brothers. You know, show them respect. So these are topics that are out there that I was asked about. And maybe you know these things, but I'm sharing with you that these are questions that were asked of me. And I kind of jotted down over the week, you know, of different things. And I think I basically covered just about what I was thinking about. The food preparation, the hunting, and preparing for it. You know, like my niece said, like, it's talking about, we live it every day. We do it every day. But yet they call it a ceremony to make it really restricted. And what you do is you activate by prayer. You know. And we generally use a lot of these plants to live our lives. And that's, to me, that's nutritional law. And again, I want to thank you for allowing me to be part of this day, to share some of the things that I felt was very important. I had to sort out what, oh no, I can't talk about that. Oh yeah, I should talk about this. So it's just like a bag, you know, just picking and putting back. And I had to approach it differently, in a different aspect. But okay, you have to do that. I'm very chigglers, papi. Now I'm better to get what you like, chichapi. I'm better. Yake, we want one like Sonny Chayana. Yom Kalila Wopila. Kilamayapi. And what I pick it. What chigla capi here, Wopila. Wopila, chicha.
And one of the other things that I was trying to benefit the Team Celebrate to a tea there for every infant. And I was naming the benefits, and here my oldest daughter right there, she said, and don't forget weapon. Whenever he gets mad at us, he conks us with that. Team Celebrate. And she said, don't forget weapon.
Yeah, and one of the things I guess I could have, this has been done by a family, one of the One Star family members, and she feeds families on Sundays. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the flag that was put out, a red flag that it's open, you can come and have a meal, you know, as you're going by. And that was another gift that was given to us.
We have a little bit of time left. If anybody has any questions or comments, we can have a little bit of time for sharing. If anybody has any questions, the floor is open to address our relatives here. And again, I'd like to thank these relatives for coming and sharing. And the time today on the Rosebud Reservation, I see people in leadership and educators, they look outside. They look outside for answers, for guidance. And I believe that here, one of the greatest resources that we have is our Wiojula relatives. They carry the language. And inside that language is the teachings about food. Inside the language is the teachings about our ceremonies and how we address each other as relatives. So again, I say thank you for coming and sharing, and anybody that has programs, whenever you're going to put something on, such as this, and you're looking, I'm going to kind of speak for them, but our relatives such as this are the ones who I would recommend to go to. The relatives in our communities who grew up with this way of life, with the Lakota language, with the ceremonies. They have a lot to offer us. And in today's time, it seems like the way that the IRA government is and things like that a lot of our relatives, such as the Wiojula, they get overlooked at times. And they get passed over, and they have a lot of things for us, a lot of history, the teachings, it's there, it's in the Lakota language. So thank you. If anybody would like to ask any questions or make comments, now's the time. We'll have leave the floor open for just a little bit, and then when we're done, I kind of put my relatives back here on the spot. Sister and niece are going to share a song to honor the ones that prepared the food today and the ones that shared these teachings with us.
I'd like to say something. One, I just really felt blessed to have you three women. I am inspired. I thank you for saying that we do have, we have everything we need right here. We really do. It's up to us to be able to utilize all the resources that we have right here. And you're right, sometimes we look at everybody from Mission and, you know, St. Francis, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But our little communities, our isolated communities, they are a wealth of treasure and knowledge because you haven't been touched. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, that you haven't been touched in a way that some of our larger communities have been. And it's very cool to have had the gentleman stand and speak all in Lakota with that, not only with the beautiful language, but the beautiful intonations of how he presented himself. And I know we would be honored to have you in our kitchen, in our facility, again, to completely, totally work with our own community members. You are beautiful, young, I might add. So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
We're in the work I thank these ladies. This really made my day. It lifted me up. It made me feel good. I think this is something that we need to get out to more people, especially our young people. Everything they talked about today is really important. Mr. Redbird talked about not needing a degree to know these things. And one of the ladies talked about was taught in the home. It's something that we need for genetic restoration also, because our bodies aren't built for the European food pyramid. They're built for whatever our grandparents ate. And then you pray with it, and that gives it a double kick. I don't know if you've seen this, this documentary about a Chinese doctor that photographed water molecules. And before he prayed, the water molecules were flat, like a flat inner tube. And just that medicine man after praying made those water molecules get so big, and the water changed completely. And a lot of our food has water in it too. So I was sitting there connecting everything, and I was just passing by, but I'm glad Pushkar you reined me in with the promise of food over there. That was really good too. But I do know the Redbird family a couple of years ago, they won't talk about it, but they were up to 5,000 Tipsila when I quit counting. And imagine, that's just a fraction of what's out there. You got to be thinking about how many tons of biomass, protein, calcium, all these things are out there for free and we're not using them. And those are the things that we need. I'm also grateful for, I'll call her Nakashi because she mentioned Henry as a grandfather. Henry's wife is my grandmother also. When my uncle died, she brought lost snow with her for a journey. And it was one of those things that we forgot in the rush. When we got there, we said, "Where's the lost snow?" And we transacted each other, and then here they already had it covered. So that really saved the day for us. And from my uncle, because he took several different kinds of lost snow with him. So I'm really grateful for that. And I really enjoyed Mother Nakashi talking about stuff. Reminds me of stuff that happened when we were kids, but this seems like yesterday. I wanted to add on, We ate just about everything too. Rabbits, squirrels, we were taught to hunt. I think I grew up on those red squirrels when we were kids. Rabbits, we fished all the time. We ate turtle. And before they told us what we were eating, we had already eaten baked porcupine, baked raccoon. Tak ładnych słaki się nie masz.
That was me.
So it reminded me of all the foods that we ate when we were growing up. And this is the Lakota version of, if you ever read that book called Last Child in the Woods, it's about a group of kids out there in the US that were taken out of the classrooms. Their diet was changed. They went outdoors and they did everything out there. Their attitudes, their grades, they finished high school, they went on to college, finished college. And that was just from the simple change from diet, being outdoors. So, I say, wopila. Thank you.
And to note, we're one of the suppliers of Team Sila for Prairie Edge and Rapid City. She said she has 3 people, one from Rosebud, and that's Andy, and one from Crow Creek, and one from Eagle Butte. So she said she has 3 suppliers at Team Sila's.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to add, we get a lot of our ceremony food from Mrs. Redbird too. She never charges us for Team Sila or any of the fruits that she has. So we're switching from the stuff that we buy to stuff that's been wild.
Anyone else have any questions or comments or anything? One of the things that I heard said today was to think in Lakota, to think that way. And it made me think a little bit. I had a uncle, he's passed away recently, back in January of this year. And he spoke 3 different languages. Lakota was his first language, and then he learned English in life, and he also learned how to speak Spanish. And he was a member of a Native American church, and he would sing Pioli songs in the Spanish and the songs that they had down there. And we were visiting one time, and he was talking about that, his thought process. He said, you know, whenever I have to make a decision in my life, he said, my thoughts are in the Lakota language. Whenever I have to think about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to live, decisions I have to make for my family. He said, whenever I lied and deceived to people, he said, my thoughts were in the English language. that made me really understand something. That made me really, taught me something. And I look at where most of the decisions that are being made, a lot of the relatives in those positions, they speak one language and they think in one language. So I'm very fortunate to be around relatives who still fluently speak the Lakota language, and they still think and live their life that way. So it's a great privilege to be around relatives such as that. So before we're done, I'm going to have sister and niece, they're going to share a song, and then we'll be finished for the day. We'll wrap up a little bit early.